All right, so welcome to episode 1. I'm here with Stephen Barbettini.
You are?
I am. I've known Stephen probably since like 2014, would you say?
Yeah, I would say 2013.
2013.
Yeah.
But we weren't like, I wouldn't say we were like close back then. Like we'd kind of see, we had the same friend groups, right?
Yeah, I always described Cory as like somebody who was friends with all of my friends, and I knew him, but I didn't have like a, I guess we didn't have like a super personal relationship back then.
Yeah.
We do now.
We do now.
We're like best buds now. So
well, we've been hanging out a lot, and we started a movie night that we were doing every single Wednesday, which we need to bring back.
We do.
Tomorrow is Wednesday for us, and we are watching a movie. Very excited about that. Yeah. I'm going to watch The Shining for the first time.
With some out-of-town people who have never seen The Shining.
Yeah.
Including you.
I have not seen The Shining.
So I'm looking forward to being there when you guys see that for the first time.
It's going to be good.
It's a hell of a thing.
Very excited for that. So we're here at episode 1, and we're talking about the different ways that we watch movies. So the ways that I watch movies, the way that Stephen watches movies, and also ways that we've observed other people watch movies. Sure. And I just find that topic interesting because
it is, yeah. It reveals a lot about the way that people interact with the form.
Well, okay, so film is like, it's a very personal experience. Like you go into a movie and it's either like really speaking to you, like, and it's just like, this is my movie, right? And so I feel like it can be a very personal experience, like, but there's like bigger movies that like are, you know, really big budget or blockbuster type that doesn't feel as personal, like this was made to me. But there's definitely every now and then you watch a movie and you're like, oh man, like you feel like it's made for you. I don't know if you've like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
those turn into personal favorites.
Yeah, and like
of course end up on like end of year lists.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, because it's like you watch it and it's like you almost want to watch it again. You're just like immersed in it. You feel like it was like written for you.
Yeah, it speaks to you, I guess.
And I've probably had like, I don't know, maybe one of those, like maybe two.
Really?
Like that doesn't happen a lot. So I feel like you experience that, like maybe there's only one movie that you've ever watched that's like really you feel that it was made for you. But anyway, it's like film is such a like personal experience, and so of course therefore it's like a pretty subjective experience because of your life experience, how you grew up, like your childhood, the friends you've had, the family, like parenting, relationship with siblings, like all of these things, like your life experience like shapes how you perceive the world, really. And so like your experience with the movie is going to be totally different from my experience from a movie, right?
It's all relative to like how you perceive things anyway.
Yeah.
And it's being fed through like a number of senses, so there's an inherent subjective nature to it for sure. Yeah, obviously. But
yeah, and that like, and it makes it such a, like I just said, like a personal experience. Like it's just such a I don't know how else to say. I'm trying to find a different way to say it, but no, there's not.
It's a very personal art form.
Yeah, and that's why I love it. Like I really do. Like there's definitely some movies that I want to make that are just, I feel like they would mean a lot to me. Of course, I would try to make them quote unquote objectively good as I can, which is a reoccurring theme that we'll discuss in this podcast.
Like something that ostensibly other people can consume and enjoy. Yes. That isn't just targeted to you. Right. Like people make art for themselves, but ideally it's, you know, hopefully other people can enjoy it.
Exactly.
Or sometimes you make art that you don't care about personally, but it's like for something else.
A cause, or
it's a product or whatever. Yeah.
Or an idea. Yeah, for sure.
A lot of times you want to mix though, right?
Yes.
So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. But so that's a topic that you'll hear us talk about kind of a lot, is like, is there a, like kind of looking at film through the lens of objectivity and subjectivity. That's a topic we'll kind of put aside. We're not really talking about that today. So films being such a personal experience, how do you watch a movie? Like let's get into this episode. Like how do you watch a movie?
For me, it depends on if I've seen the movie or not. If I haven't seen the movie, there's really only one way that I'm able to watch movies, which is like very critically and very attentively. And it's not always a good thing either. Because there are certain factors in life where it's like it can mess with my ability to see and enjoy film. Say like there's a lot of stress in my life at the time. There's a lot going on. I am unable to kind of like wind down from a lot of that real life stuff going on. And say there's like a movie showing that I need to go to, or like a movie that I've been wanting to watch, sometimes it's very difficult for me to like get in that critical thinking, attentiveness mode that I pretty much need to be in to see movies. So it can be a negative thing. But generally, as long as I'm in the right headspace to do it, when I watch a movie for the first time, even if it's like not something that's supposed to be like a critical darling, or a movie that is like, this is like a good film that you're supposed to like consume attentively, I still have to. I don't know why. It's I can't disengage from that at all. So I usually am locked into that from the beginning. Is like, I'm paying attention. I'm giving it a shot, right? I'm giving it a shot just from the beginning every time, and I'm gonna give my full attention to it, because otherwise I would be doing something else. Other people seem to have the ability to like more casually watch film, which can be good or bad depending on how you look at it. I just don't have that ability to really casually watch film.
Like ever?
Not really. For the first time I watch a film. Now, if I've already seen a film and I'm rewatching it, whether it's for just pure enjoyment because it's like, this is one of my favorite films, or like, this was a great film, I want to watch this again, or more likely, I'm watching it like with someone else who hasn't seen it, but I've seen it, then I can kind of take it a little bit more easy, watch it a little bit more casually, kind of take it as it is, accept it as, whether it's a film I like or not, just kind of accept it and just kind of like have fun with it. It's a more casual experience that way. And that's nice. I can kind of disengage from my critical thinking a little bit.
Yeah.
But if it's a film that I haven't seen before,
can't turn it off.
It's like I only have one mode, and it's helpful for like when I write critique and stuff, or like come up with like, lists of like, this is what worked, what didn't, this is like how I'm ranking these films for this year or whatever. It's very helpful to like be in that mode for every movie and come at every movie with like from the same place kind of. It's very helpful. But sometimes it's just not great. Sometimes it's like, I can't enjoy this right now. I'm not in a movie mood is something that like I come up against a lot in my experience with film, where it's like, I want to be able to like sit down and watch this thing right now, but I just can't, because I know I can't give it like a fair shake. I can't give it like a good faith.
I have a lot of appreciation for that. That's a great approach too.
So it's nice, but it's also kind of annoying. If that makes sense.
No, that does make sense.
But that's just my experience. I find myself to be an outlier in that. Like, most people don't have the experience that I do. So I guess to segue, like, what is your experience with the consumption of the form, I guess?
Well, and real quick, you said you like when you're writing critique. I remember back in the day when you used to actually do that on Letterboxd. But now
in the day.
Now he just says, "Oh, I watched a movie," and I'm like, he has no notes.
Oh, for me?
Letterboxd.
Oh, once upon a time. No, I do put notes on Letterboxd. I just
I'm giving you a hard
Oscar season's over, so I'm not like writing a bunch of stuff down after I see film in March, April. So it's like
if you're listening or watching and you don't know, Letterboxd is it's like kind of like it's like a social platform for watching movies.
Yeah, it's a social media.
You can mark what
platform.
you watched, and like I watched it on this day. You can have your notes on it. If you want, you can give it 1 through 5 stars, which they have half stars. So technically, it's 1 through 10. Well, let's just call things what they are and not say 1 through 5. If it's technically a 10 scale rating system. But anyways, you can put things on your watch list. You can make a list of like, here's my
really
top
cool.
movies.
They basically took like the social part of like IMDb, the like social account stuff that's built into IMDb, and I guess like Rotten Tomatoes and some other very popular sites. Then they kind of blew that out into something that was a little bit more like a little bit nicer and a little bit more like, no, this is just straight up a social media. It's not like a database. It's not like a review aggregate site. And I feel like Letterboxd has become one of my favorite social media platforms. I always say that Instagram is my favorite, but like low-key Letterboxd is kind of like the underdog there. Yeah. It's a really neat, it's a really neat thing, yeah.
I can't remember who introduced me to it, but I've been liking it. I haven't been super active on it.
Yeah.
Busy with work.
Oh,
whatever.
me neither, yeah. I just log stuff when I watch it.
Yeah.
It's like the bread and butter, and then if I have time, I'll do more, but it's a cool thing.
But I like to give Steven a hard time for not writing reviews of his thoughts on a movie, but anyways,
at least I'm using the platform, Cory.
Hey, true, you got me there. So yeah, how I watch movies is
I'm curious.
Is not entirely how you said.
Right.
I actually wish I did approach all movies for the first time how you did. Like I kind of wished I did some part of me, but I tend to default to casually watching. And what I mean by casually is not like oh yeah, there's this movie, like whatever, like it's cool. Like I'm paying attention and I'm like, man, this is really cool, but I'm not trying to figure it out and like think ahead.
Right.
And my wife Alex, she'll be on the podcast later. My wife Alex, like she tends to like find herself trying to figure it out,
like analyzing it, try to predict.
I think she doesn't like that.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to have her defend herself later, but yeah, she does.
She'll get time.
Well, I like to analyze too, but I don't. I try to stop my brain if it's ever going to the place of like trying to figure out the ending of like why did they foreshadow this? What are they trying to set up? Like I try not to figure it out because I want to like be in the moment of the story and just like this story could go anywhere, and I don't want to like spoil it for myself by trying to think ahead.
Right.
And so I feel like I've actually done a pretty good job at like training my brain to not think ahead and just be in the moment.
Just stay in the moment and just like take it as it is.
Yeah. But because of that, I end up kind of watching it a bit more casually, and I find myself like at the end of the movie, I'm like having to go back and like piece everything together and do my critiquing at the end rather than during watching it. So my first time watching a movie is I would say casual in that sense, where I'm just like moment to moment, just experiencing the movie for the first time, not trying to figure out, not trying to analyze, not trying to critique. And then the second time I watch a movie, and especially if it's good enough, like I'll go back and watch, and then like, okay, let's figure this. Like, let me really sit down and analyze this. So like, typically my first time is not analyzing it.
I gotcha.
But I wouldn't say so casual to where it's like, oh yeah, there's a movie on. Let me just pull out my phone.
It's not indifference.
Yes,
it's just like I'm
enjoying it thoroughly.
We're just enjoying it and just kind of like, oh, I'm here. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like let's watch the movie. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That's awesome.
But so it is good. But then like I tend to like after a movie, I'm like, wait, so what was with the? And then people like you're like, well, obviously that was this, and that. I'm like, oh yeah. But like, so like it takes me. I have to process the movie after watching it, rather than like trying to like boot up my RAM and like process it during the. That was computer speak.
After you watch a film, do you usually have to take time after to process it, or are you immediately able to just be like,
no?
Okay, so that's kind of what you're getting at. That's kind of what you're getting at.
Yes.
I know somebody that recently was telling me the exact same thing, that he was saying. That he like really it was funny. He was like, I really hate it when people are just like, hey, like, what did you think right after a movie? It's like, I don't know, like, give me some space. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's really funny, but no, I think that's totally fair.
No, but I will say that I do like people asking me that right after a movie. I may not be able to give a super great detailed answer, but I do like discussing it because I feel like because I'm processing it a bit slower than probably you or other people that I know, it sits with me longer. Because maybe you figure it out and you're like, okay, I process it. Like, yeah, it's good. Maybe I have these thoughts on it, and you kind of move on. But for me, it kind of like stays with me, and like for days, I'm just going,
Yeah, no,
which is kind of annoying.
Fair, yeah. That's
but
fair,
yeah. So I wanted to bring up some ways that I've like observed that other people watch movies that I just find interesting to talk about, and maybe anybody listening or listening to this, or watching this, is like, yeah, that's me. So like here's like a couple that I've kind of observed of just like different ways that I've seen either myself or other people watch movies. So
the different personality types of film goers, if you will.
I'm done. This is not in any particular order, but like an appreciative approach. Like, so you're going into a movie and just like, man, I'm just like appreciating every aspect of filmmaking that went into this, and you're just like kind of like in this awe state, right? Just like, man, this is cool. So appreciative.
Or I paid money. I've kind of already decided that I'm going to have a good time. True. Just because it's like I paid money for it, and it is a product, right? So I definitely know people that kind of just approach it in that way, because it's like I paid money, I might as well have the best time I can.
Yeah,
and I think that's fair.
My brother's
I think
like
that's fair too. Yeah.
My brother Caleb.
Yeah. No, yeah. That sounds like Caleb. Yeah.
So appreciative, and then there's also like a relaxing way, like kind of like you're turning off your mind and just like don't want to think and just kind of turning everything off and just kind of winding down with a movie or a TV show or whatever. So there's like that kind of
using
approach.
it to wind down, using it as just kind of like a just to relax or whatever.
Yeah. So there's that. There's also distracted, and so like different ways that could be is like it's in the background, you're washing dishes, or like you're literally working. I have a friend, Daniela, if you ever watch this, I'm talking about you, who is working while she's watching a movie for the first time.
Called out.
Oh no, we're friends. She's cool with it.
That's I find that so like obviously I couldn't imagine doing that unless it was a film that I've seen a million times.
No, yeah, if it's totally.
I've done that before.
Yeah.
But obviously, I couldn't imagine doing that with a film, especially the first time I saw it.
Right. Just because you're,
I feel like that's more of like a TV thing. Like
I can see that as a TV thing.
Like The Office in the background.
For the fourth time.
Just as an example, like just like any TV, obviously, especially there are certain types of TV that might lend itself better to that kind of viewership. But it's not for me. But I definitely know people that do that, especially with TV.
Yeah. So like doing it or doing working or studying or dare I say it, texting.
It's not me. It's not me.
But people, I've seen it.
Shout out to those.
But they're
folks.
like, and I don't mean like oh they pulled out their phone. How dare them? Like doing a theater. I'm talking like on the couch, like doing this, like kind of glancing up, just like every now and then. I'm just like, stop.
I would have to be very uninterested in the film.
Yeah.
To be in that.
Alex is actually, my wife Alex is actually in the other room, so she'll probably hear this and she can defend herself. But it even bothers me, and this is just me, like it bothers me like we're watching a movie or a TV show, whatever it is, and she says, I have to know. So like if like, let's say we're like having food in the background or like, she wants a drink or something, like she walks away to where the TV is like off screen, and I'm like, why didn't she ask me to pause it? Like she can't see right now. She's like, I'm listening, and I'm like, yeah, you're listening, but you're not seeing. Because I like things like
you're talking about
cinematography and just
the
if
walk
it's a TV
away
show,
but didn't ask to pause things. That happens to me all the time.
That's gonna be a whole episode. But anyways, no. So going through, I have two more. So appreciative, relaxing, distracted, which we just went through all those. Like thoughtful and like inclined and like really paying attention, and then critical.
Gotcha.
So like I would say like the thoughtful, like inclined is like you're either a fan of this person's work, you saw the trailer and are hooked. So like you're like, oh man, I'm here. Like, so it's not necessarily like just appreciative or like just relaxing. It's like you're in there. Like it's almost like what you just said. Like you have friends who pay for it, so like I'm gonna have a good time no matter what. Like kind of like it's sort of like that. And then the last one is like critical,
I got you.
where it's like, and that's interesting that's kind of your default like for a new movie.
It's not like when I say critical. I am every time I see a film, I'm always hoping that it shows me something I haven't seen or just does something really well.
Yeah.
I'm always hoping for the best. I'm never like
let's see where they screwed this one up.
Right. I'm always hopeful with every film. But yeah, that is definitely my default way of viewing, I guess.
So okay, can we
a hybrid between that and attentiveness, because they kind of seem the same to me.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I would say you're pretty hyper aware of like everything that's going on while watching it.
I try to
watch movies together, so
right. I try to give everything a good faith, like a good shake, a good, I'll give you a shot.
Right.
Show me something I haven't seen.
And that shows that you don't really go into a movie assuming like
I try not to prejudge stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, all right,
but once it's over,
let's see what this has to offer.
I'm gonna judge the hell out of it if it's something I feel strongly about.
Steven goes, first of all. No, yeah, that's good. I like it.
I gotcha.
So let's kind of dive into like how you watch a movie while critiquing it. Like what aspects of it are you looking at? Because we've got things like plot, character. So you can look at like character development or just like character in of itself, the theme, the script, the score, and spectacle, which I think is just like the theatrics of it or like the vision of it. I'll have to dive into that. I might be butchering that. And anybody watching this is like, he's doing it wrong. Sorry, I don't know what spectacle meant. I forgot. I think it's like the
which
effects.
context?
I think it's the effects, because this is about theater back then, right?
Right.
So I think the spectacle is like kind of like effects or something. But anyways, I just wanted to give
terms the budget.
The budget, yeah, for real. No, really though.
The scope.
Yeah. But like giving those as like a context, how do you like, what are you looking for? Like the overall plot or just like...
So I guess a little background on me. I used to do video editing, and I still do occasionally, I guess. But I used to do video editing, and to be honest with you, I feel like that informs the way that I consume film in to a certain degree, at least. Just understanding like when the editor of any said piece of work gets that 300 hours of footage dumped on him or her, and they have to just work it down to it, like here's a scene, here's a 3-minute scene from like, however many hours of footage from that day on set. Like understanding that process and kind of like what's difficult about filmmaking, especially in post, but like just in general, like understanding what's difficult and what's hard to pull off and where the pain points are in filmmaking, that gives me a kind of a compass to my critique of film, I guess.
Yeah.
Like in my head. Not that I'm a critic, right? But just like when I think of like, oh, did I like this? Did I not like this? Was this impressive? Was this unimpressive? Was this good? Was this bad? I'm usually kind of, just from my experience editing my own stuff and just from what I know about filmmaking, I'm looking at the flow, things that are very difficult to quantify, like the feel, the flow, the kinds of things that editors think about when they're putting stuff together and they're smashing their spacebar over and over again to try to get like the cut right. And we're talking like, 1 or 2 frame difference, and they're like agonizing over like one of these 2 frames and like which one do I cut on, like where's the perfect cut. Like there's always like a perfect cut that hypothetically exists where it's like, do I cut here or do I cut here? What's the difference? There's no effective difference, but there is to me. There's so many different things that add up to even just a competent film, but to go even beyond, to go above and beyond that takes a lot of either luck or skill, and probably both. And usually it's pretty apparent when you're watching a film whether something is coming together or whether it was like adulterated by other factors like studio pressure, producer making this decision, someone with authority making a bad decision. Things, again, there's so many, like when I talk about pain points in film, there are so many uncontrollable variables that there is a certain amount of luck to like maybe like a scene, right? You don't have the soundtrack until like some point in post, right? And soundtracks have tempos, and tempos really affect the way edits feel, but you don't hear that, you can't hear that on set when you're filming. So you might do an action at a certain pace, and then like on another completely different day, like 3 months later, you do another action at a different pace, and then in the edit, those 2 shots are like next to each other, and then you find out that the tempo of like the soundtrack is going to be this, or you want it to be this, and it's like by then it's too late. You can do reshoots maybe, but it's like there are so many different pain points in filmmaking that like you get like weird looking scenes, weird looking actions, stuff that just doesn't pan out right. But like when it works, whether it's luck or skill, who knows? But like when it works, when you're watching it. And so as like a member of the audience, it's great to kind of like sit down, lights are off, and it's just like, give me your best shot and let's see how it turned out. And so by the end of the film, it's about just kind of like pulling all of those thoughts together into like I liked it or I didn't. Most of the time it's just like you say to a friend like, that was really good, or like, wow, that was incredible, or like I don't know about that one, this ain't it, chief, right?
Well, because you can tell when an editor was lazy or just kind of hired for the job, like, and they're not putting
there's
like
a million
a ton
factors,
of,
there's
so many factors. Filmmaking in general, you brought up a great point. Like filmmaking in general is like number one, the most, I always say like the most expensive art form. But number two, like has like the most moving parts in an art form.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, there's so many people, like typically involved in like making what you're watching in that 3-minute scene, how it feels, how it looks.
Even small productions,
Even
there's
small
just so many
productions,
moving pieces, so many different things that are like you don't have complete control over. Things can just go crazy.
And it goes down to the subtleties. Like if the director is totally happy with how an actor's face looked when they're giving this super powerful kick, like that's really subtle. If let's say she's kicking something and it's like this really powerful kick and it's like this, almost like shockwave effect to the person who's getting kicked, but her face is just like, she's just like in the zone, like, just like kind of straight face, like kick. But when you're watching that and with the soundtrack and with the edit and like how the camera movement was with the like shutter speed being like really high and like all that, like it actually would have been better if the director like had her with a more aggressive approach. Like that would feel so much different. And in the end, because we have things like really powerful music, sound design, and effects with either the camera and post-production, like it still gave it its effect. Like, okay, powerful kick, that guy got hurt. But like all these tiny little decisions with whether it's the director, the actor, how the camera, like all these little pieces like are going to add up to what makes or breaks that scene.
It can, for sure.
Or shot. You can even break it down even to a single shot. But like with the edit,
a good plan can mean a lot too. And again, a million different variables can affect it later. But even just like having something well storyboarded, I guess can be really helpful. But like there's even good productions. By the time there's like a late draft, there's already a million things that went wrong. And it's kind of on the strength of your ability to kind of move with it. Move with the punches. It's going to dictate a lot of the way it feels in the end.
So obviously, like we're like getting pretty deep into the weeds of like how things are made, but like I'm curious if like if you're listening to this and or watching this, and I guess I'm hoping that like us talking about this shows like how much we like have an appreciation for like all of the little things that go into it. And that might not be you. Like you might not think about these things, and that's totally fine. That doesn't mean this isn't the place for you. Like hopefully this kind of enlightens you to going, wow, there really is a lot that goes into it. And of course we're just kind of like, we're just two guys who just happen to like film.
We just
like this is what I want to do full time. Maybe we should have given an introduction at the beginning of like who we are and a little bit, rather than I'm just like, oh, Steven's my friend, here we go. But yeah, so
that's basically it.
That's all you need.
Stevie B's here because he's your friend.
I want filmmaking to like be my thing. Like that's all I want to do. It's expensive though. Like even small budget or micro budget, whatever you want to call it, like it's expensive, and so it costs, and it like. But that's what I want to do, and so like that's why I like to like think about all the little things, is just because it helps me think about how I want to approach making my films, whether it's a short film or a feature-length film. So far at this point in time, 2020, I've only done short films, but yeah, that's what I want to do. So like that's kind of why we're here talking about this. But if you're watching this or listening to this and you have a different approach to how you watch movies, I'm actually really curious to hear about it. Obviously that list that I gave earlier about like, being appreciative, thoughtful, and like all that, like that's just top of my head. I'm curious if people will watch movies in a totally different way, or maybe it depends on the genre, right? So like, if people like horror, like you're probably, there's all kinds of different ways to watch different kinds of movies. Cause I know I like, when I'm watching, like it's an action movie, I tend to like go super into that casual mode that we talked about, like where I'm just kind of like relaxed and just like, yeah, it's just an action movie, because it's not really my thing, and I find I'm more critical and like analytical over the genres that I really like.
Yeah, there are definitely certain genres that demand a more, I guess like a more casual, like this is. Comedy. You're supposed to have fun doing this. Absolutely, yeah. And that's totally great. That's great. And I do that. I usually take the advice of, if it's like a rom-com or something, like I'm not like sitting there like this wasn't shot well, like not healthy.
Probably not. You're on a date and she's just like, dude.
To experience it, you have to meet it somewhere, right? So that's a given.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Any closing thoughts, Stephen?
Not in particular. Just
Yeah.
it's really there. Again, there are a million different ways to interact with the form, and no one is objectively better or worse. You know, we all have our own way of experiencing it, and we just like to talk about it, which is why we're here ultimately, right?
Yeah.
But if we like to talk about it, that means there are more people that like to talk about it.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I guess I should have brought that up. There's no wrong way to like...
Absolutely not, no.
Or is there, Stephen?
Depends on
what if someone's texting you the whole movie?
Yeah, right.
Feels like a pretty
It depends
wrong
on
way.
what your goals are. It depends on what your goals are. If you establish goals, then there may not be better ways to go about getting to those goals.
But that's true. Because if your goal is like, I just need to turn off my mind, just like rest. Like I know people watch TV to go to sleep.
Yeah,
like it's literally like watching TV to go to sleep. So if you're on your phone doing that seems kind of appropriate, I guess.
Right.
Well, I don't know. Screens during bed. That's a different topic.
It's a different topic.
Different podcast.
Yeah, there are a million different ways. Most films are like, most people go to movies for just to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's great, you know. So yeah, there's no like right or wrong way to do it. You know?
Unless you're on your phone.
Unless you're on your phone. Unless you're ruining other people's experiences, I guess.
Ooh.
Different podcast.
Anyways, if you like watching film, don't keep following along because we don't really know what we're talking about, and we're obviously rambling.
That's what we're here to do.
Subscribe somewhere else.
Ramble more about movies.
Ramblemore.com. You can find us there.
There it is. Somebody already registered that URL.
Dang it.
It's already gone. You just put it out into the world. It's gone.